Today I'm talking about a film that's very divisive for just being a straightforward slasher with a plot that you could summarize in one sentence. Clown killed people. So yes, to the pleasure of some and the displeasure of many, I'm talking about Damien Leone's Terrifier. Damien Leone or Damien Leone? Anyway, that's not important. Terrifier came out in 2016 and it kind of made a splash, enough to get a sequel that I saw in a second run theater, and now the third one is playing in the biggest theater chain in Canada, which is quite impressive for a small indie film, especially when you consider that the first one looks like it's a straight to Tubi movie.
I'm telling you, that guy totally whacked off in there. He was obviously turned on by you.
So, what is Terrifier about? Well, it's about a clown that kills people. I told you it was easy to summarize.
Jesus Christ.
The film starts with a disfigured woman being interviewed on TV, and we see a montage of Art the Clown, or as we call him in French, Art le Clown. I thought that was fun information for y'all. Getting ready. And by getting ready, I mean he's getting his weapons ready. And what you might not know is that this is the third appearance of Art the Clown in a film. In fact, he was in Damien Leone's previous films, All Hallows Eve and All Hallows Eve 2. Two anthology horror films that are based around Halloween, and they're pretty fun to watch, especially during this season. Anyways, Art is getting ready, and then we cut to our main characters, Dawn and Tara. Dawn is played by Catherine Corcoran from Return to Nukem High fame, if you're a Trauma fan, and she does a pretty good job at just playing a obnoxious, drunk college girl. Which I guess some people aren't a fan of the two main characters, calling them annoying, but honestly, when I was in college, I was around drunk college people, and it's pretty goddamn accurate.
Just shut the fuck up.
They're walking back from a party, and Dawn is a bit too tipsy to drive, so they decide to not drive and instead go for some food. And then they see a person dressed as a clown just staring at them. Dawn, being drunk, is just being obnoxious and yelling at the clown, and then he disappears like that. And after that, they're at a pizza shop, and then Art the Clown shows back up, sits down, and just stares at Tara for a while. Dawn, again being obnoxious and drunk, decides to take a selfie with the clown in one of the film's most iconic scene that I think is just a bit stupid, and then she goes to sit back down. Art the Clown, being madly in love with Tara, I don't blame him, goes and gets a little ring out of a machine and gives it to Tara. He then goes to the washroom and the girls are like, whoa, that was weird. And then our lovely clown gets kicked out of the pizza shop for shitting all over the wall. Art is a dirty boy. Then the ladies leave as they're sober enough to drive, and then they get to their car and realize that the tire is flat. Of course, Dawn doesn't have the spare because she plays a dumb blonde character. And then they just wait in the car, and then they call Tara's sister to come pick them up. In the meanwhile, Art is being a bit goofy with the pizza shop people because he slaughters them. And then, just like you saw in the beginning, with the interviewee getting killed, which I forgot to mention, you realize that this movie is gonna have some great gore. And that's what the franchise will be known for in the future. Anyways, after Art is done being a silly goofy clown that completely destroys people, we go back to our main characters who are waiting in the car, but Tara has to pee. Regular problem for us folks who like to drink, we always gotta piss.
I really have to pee.
And then Dawn is like, well, go ask that guy who just came out of that weird abandoned building if you can go piss, which he does, and then the guy is like, yeah, go ahead.
Let her use the bathroom, for God's sake! She'll make it worth your while!
After she's done in the washroom, she meets another character of the film, this homeless lady, who's a bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, holding a baby, which is not really a baby, it's a puppet. Not a puppet, how do you call it? A doll, that's the word. Sorry people, English is my second language. And that interaction is a bit odd, and then she walks out of the building, but Art the Clown is waiting for her because we saw him also get in the car with Dawn.
Oh my god, you're never gonna believe what I just heard on the radio.
And that's where we get the first instance of what we think will be the confrontation between Art the Clown and the final girl, but no, Tara is far from being the final girl. She gets into a fight with Art, and then Art overpowers her, and we get one of the most iconic scenes of this film, where Tara is held hostage as she's looking at her friend Dawn being sliced up in half from the coochie. And that scene, I will say, is iconic, and it kind of symbolizes what I like about these films. Terrifier is not some goofy slasher that's meta or takes itself not seriously. This is a mean-spirited movie, which is weird seeing how Art the Clown kind of already became this horror icon, since these movies aren't really made for mainstream audiences, but they somehow found their way into the mainstream, which reminds me a lot of the extreme movement of the early 2010s, where somehow movies like Human Centipede, Serbian Film kind of touched the mainstream. It's just bizarre when you realize that this franchise started with a very mean-spirited slasher with a scene of a naked woman getting sawed in half from the vagina. And that's where the movie kind of loses steam for me. Not that I don't like the rest of the film, in fact I'm kind of shocked that they have the balls to kill Tara, who we all thought was gonna be the final girl, but I just don't like the sister character as much. I don't think she's as strong of a final girl as Tara would have been. Anyways, that's not important because the rest of the movie is also Art going on a goddamn rampage, killing everybody from the homeless lady, who I thought they wouldn't kill. Again, this film is very mean-spirited, to killing the bald guy who let Tara in. Eventually, Tara's sisters show up, she texts, calls, she gets no answers, she gets in, she sees the corpse of the homeless lady and another corpse who she thinks is her sister, but no, it's Art the Clown dressed up as a dead woman, which is a very kind of messed up image. And this sets off the final cat and mouse game of the film, where Art the Clown tries to kill Tara's sister, and Tara's sister tries to survive while she fights off Art the Clown. She does a pretty good job until the end, where she gets completely destroyed, but somehow she's still alive. Then the police, instead of just coming in, crash through the door, which is hilarious, and then they come out and point their guns at Art the Clown, but Art also has his own gun, which I think is one of the problems that people have, is that Art the Clown uses a gun, but like, come on. Slasher villains have used guns before, it's not a new thing, but he won't be taken alive, so Art shoots himself, unalives himself, sorry YouTube.
So I should put on a 7th pot of coffee then, huh?
And then everybody is brought to the doctor, to the doctor of corpses. What's the name again? Anyways, Art is still alive and he kills one last person before we get to discover that the person being interviewed in the beginning is actually Tara's sister. The end.
She's still alive.
So, what did I think of Terrifier from 2016? I like this film. For a while, I thought it was just okay because no, this is not my first time seeing it. In fact, I think it's my third time. So yeah, I like this film. At first, I wasn't on board completely. I just thought it lacked a bit of substance, but then I realized that this is what the film was supposed to be. It is just a straightforward modern slasher. It does have tropes of modern slashers that I'm not the biggest fan of. It looks cheap, but the gore is great, so it kind of balances things out. The acting is a bit iffy, some of the characters are a bit annoying, but they're not to the point where it takes me out of the movie, which I think is something that's lost in a lot of modern day slashers, is that they try to have these very unlikable characters, and then they say, oh well, this is an 80s throwback, but then you watch an actual 80s slasher and you're like, the characters aren't unlikable. That's the thing that most people forget. The unlikable characters in slashers really came in the 90s. But yeah, this is just a straightforward slasher film, which again brings me to the point in my introduction, why is this so divisive? A lot of the extreme horror community doesn't like this film. Why? It's a small independent film that got very famous really quickly. Having movies like Terrifier 3 or Terrifier 2 in the theaters is important for us horror fans because it opens the gate for more indie low-budget gory splatter films to hit theaters. Terrifier 1, just a pretty good, straightforward slasher film with some good gore, some interesting characters. That's pretty much all it needed to be successful. So thank you guys, and see you guys next time.